Jeremiah, the 29th chapter, beginning with the 10th verses. This is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my gracious promise to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and places where I have banished you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile. Well, I am finishing my non-biblical children's stories about Christmas. Now, we started with Frosty the Snowman, and then we did Rudolph, and then we did Santa Claus. And if you grew up in the same era I did, or even a little before, you know there's one more Christmas special. And it was always my favorite. And it was written by a Jewish man, not even a Christian. Theodore Geisel, also known as Dr. Seuss. Of course, I'm talking about How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, I think Jim Carrey is a very funny actor, but if you grew up in the time I did, Boris Karloff is the only Grinch. And his version is the best, and it does, in just under 30 minutes, a better top job of telling the story than Jim Carrey does in 2 hours. So, the story of Christmas, of how the Grinch stole Christmas. So we all know it, but I'll review it real quick. The Grinch hates Christmas. No one knows why. Even he doesn't know why. But maybe the best reason of all is that the Grinch's heart is 2 sizes too small. So the Grinch decides to stop Christmas from coming. So on Christmas Eve, he sneaks into town and he steals all the decorations and all the presents and all the food. And he goes back to the top of a mountain. He's going to throw the stuff overboard. But he decides that first he's going to listen to hear everybody cry and complain when they wake up on Christmas morning and Christmas is gone. No presents, no decorations, no food. And he waits, and then he hears something coming from the town. And it's singing. And all the citizens of town, even though they woke up with no presents under the tree, and not even a tree anymore, and no food in the pantry, gather in town like they always did, and celebrate Christmas by singing. And the Grinch's heart is touched, and it grows. And he goes back into town with the presents. And everybody welcomes him. It's a wonderful story. And most people, when they read the story, they come across with the obvious message that is spelled out in the story. Literally the words when the Grinch says, maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas means a little bit more. And they stop thinking there, okay, I've got the answer. It's like when you're studying for a test, and You got the answer, you got the answer to the question, you quit studying. There's more to learn, but you don't worry about it because you know you got the answer for the test. Now, that's an important message. Christmas is not about the presents or the decorations or even gathering with the family and eating. But that's a negative message. That says Christmas, this tells us what Christmas isn't. The story also tells us what Christmas is. It goes beyond that spelled out message that's in big bold letters for us to read and take to heart. And take to heart is the clue. Who was the Grinch? What was the Grinch like at the beginning of the story? Well, I love the Boris Karloff version. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch, in the song, all the terrible things that are said about the Grinch. And it's never said they're not true. The Grinch, plain and simple, is a sinner. He's like we were before we knew Christ. Oh, we might have polished it up a little bit. We might have tried to make it look better on the outside of the Grinch, put makeup on the pig. But deep down, we were the Grinch. Miserable. Mean. We were miserable, so we wanted to make everybody else miserable. We were miserable, so we couldn't stand anybody else being happy. That's the Grinch. That's the life of a sinner. And the story of the Grinch is a story of redemption. It's the story of the Grinch's heart being remade. This is what Jesus teaches. We need a new heart. The prophet says, Ezekiel says, I will take from them their hearts of stone and give them hearts of flesh, their cold, unyielding hearts, and give them warm, soft hearts, which respond to God's leadings. Jesus also says in Revelation that his law will be put upon our hearts. We won't have to read it off of tablets or texts. It will be within us, and we will know it. The Grinch gets a new heart. And here's the best part of it. The Grinch is not redeemed because he returns all of the feasts and presents and decorations for Christmas. He returns all those things because he's redeemed. The change in his heart came before any action on his part. It wasn't the Grinch said, okay, I'll return this stuff, and God said, okay, you're redeemed. No. He was redeemed, and then he said, I need to return all this stuff. I need to celebrate my redemption with these people. Now, we are not just the Grinch in this story as well. We're also the Who's. Because how is the Grinch redeemed? He doesn't read a Bible and read about Jesus and fall to his knees and recite the sinner's prayer. There's not a missionary from Whoville who climbs the mountain to go tell him the wonderful news about Jesus. But all the who's. On Christmas morning, when the Grinch is expecting them to be sad and angry, gather in the center of town and sing. They celebrate. They share joy, the joy of Christmas. And it is that simple act, that act of faith, that when the Grinch hears it, his heart is changed. And that's us, or at least it can be us. Simple acts of faith. Especially at times when no one expects it from us. The Grinch certainly didn't expect them to gather in the center of town and sing. He expected them to gather in the center of town and cry and scream and be angry. He was planning on enjoying their anger at him. Ever meet anybody like that seems to take enjoyment out of making you angry? I was in a discussion with a friend of mine a while ago, and after about 15 minutes, he goes, "You might as well stop arguing with me. I realized you were right 10 minutes ago, and now I'm just trying to make you angry." There are people like that. If you can't beat them, make them angry. That doesn't do any good. The who's, without conscious thought, without realizing it, became witnesses. The who's, just by doing what they did every Christmas, gathering together and singing, carried the message of redemption to the ears of the Grinch on top of a mountain far away. There was in early colonial America, there was a Quaker minister, traveling minister, and he got a leading from God that said, "I want you to go up to New York's colony, and I want you to go up and I want you to preach." So he's going up into the woods of New York, and he comes across this logging camp, and there's nobody there. They're out cutting down trees. And so he goes, "Lord, are you sure this is where you want me to preach?" And God says, "Yes." And he goes, "Do you want me to wait till the people get back?" And he goes, "No, I want you to preach." So he starts preaching. Now, being an old-fashioned Quaker, he preaches for 2 hours. And a few squirrels and raccoons come to listen to him for a little bit and wander off. But he's done saying everything he has to say, and he leaves. And he goes, "Well, that was weird." 20 years later, he's in Boston, and he's preaching before a crowd of people, and when he finishes, this man comes up to him, and he's never met the guy, but the guy says, "I need to thank you." He goes, "Why?" "You saved me." He goes, 20 years ago, at a logging camp in New York, I came back to get my stone to sharpen my axe. And there was this crazy man standing in the middle of the camp preaching to nobody. Well, I didn't want to interrupt you, so I sat down behind one of the cabins and listened to you. And that day, I gave my heart to Jesus. And I've been looking for you ever since. Just by being faithful. Just by doing what he always did. He always went and preached. He saved the soul of a man he'd never met. Christmas is the season of light. Jesus said, "We are the light of the world." Let your light shine this Christmas. We celebrate Christmas this time of year because these are the darkest days. These are the longest nights. And it is that much more important in times of darkness that our light shine brightly. And the secret is, it's not our light that is shining. It is God's light that is shining through us. So allow Christ to lead your thoughts and your actions this time of year. And you may save people you've never met. Our closing hymn is number 279, Infant, Holy Infant, Lowly.